All opinions expressed on any program are those of the producer and are persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of DCTV. All producers and guests appearing on programs provide information and opinions based on information they consider to be reliable. DCTV does not affirm the completeness and accuracy. All DCTV members agree to adhere to DCTV's Statement of Compliance and are participants in a community medium forum where they're exercising their freedom of speech.
Good evening. I'm your host, Karen Hudis. Welcome to the series on the network of global corporate control. Today's segment is live. The last segment was about electromagnetic weapons. The United States military is with us, our gold, and the United States Constitution of 1789. Today's segment is called The Truth Will Set You Free. Thanks to DCTV, to Carmen Stanley, Program Director, Maurice Jackson, Studio Producer and Director, and Cruchet Starnes, Audio and Teleprompter. Let's start with a clip from the 8th DCTV segment about the heart and soul of the United States military. 4 months after this segment about General MacArthur's testimony, we heard something interesting. Where things are now. They do have no way of stopping us. I also wanted to leave you with another thought, and that is it's very important what's going to actually happen with the United States military. That's one of the indicators that you have to be looking at. Is the U.S. military going to do what's necessary to defend the United States, or are they simply a tool of the network of global corporate control? General Douglas MacArthur addressed the Massachusetts State Legislature in Boston in 1951. This is what he said: "I find in existence a new and heretofore unknown and dangerous concept that the members of our armed forces owe primary allegiance and loyalty to those who temporarily exercise the authority of the executive branch of government, rather than the country and its constitution, which they are sworn to defend. No proposition could be more dangerous. None could cast a greater doubt upon the integrity of the armed services, for its application would at once convert them from their traditional and constitutional role as the instrument for the defense of the Republic into something partaking of the nature of a Praetorian Guard, owing its allegiance to the political master of the hour." So we're going to see where the U.S. military comes out. Are they there to serve the network of global corporate control, or are they there to serve the Republic? A U.S. troop sent me an email saying that he was on the front line. Here's what the United States military has to say about the loyalty of the United States military to the people of the United States. And I received an email on the 4th of October, 2015. Quote, "I've been helping medias for the past 3 years, Press TV, RT, and several others, and I've been on the front line and have seen things that people never thought existed. I have ties to the militias and military. We have 70% of the U.S. military on our side. In the intervening years, the support in the militias and military has grown. Nearly a year ago, on the 18th of November, a Marine Expeditionary Unit landed on the CIA's branch office in Langley, Virginia. The CIA's headquarters are in Switzerland. In the past year, the Air Force has shown me many times that they're with the people living in this country.
There's hardly a day that goes by without a military salute in the form of a flyby of an advanced military helicopter overhead. Some of these flybys are extremely close. For the critical thinkers who are still able to reason, despite the electromagnetic weaponry we discussed in last week's segments, think about what it means when my statements, including when I say that Donald Trump is not the Commander-in-Chief of the United States, are never contradicted. For 2 decades, I've been fighting the network of global corporate control, which is also referred to as the banking cartel. It's a group of companies that controls the world's currencies and impersonates governments. Using advanced military modeling and game theory simulation, I worked together with a coalition to fight the banking cartel. We own the world's monetary gold reserves and other assets. These are held by a trust called the Global Debt Facility that is administered in the World Bank and International Monetary Fund. I've issued minutes of the recently concluded annual meeting of the Board of Governors of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund. These minutes were approved by all the members of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, acting through the Development Committee and its chairman, Sri Mulyani Indrawati. The network of global corporate control has lost the ability to block reality from view. Agreed minutes of the World Bank and IMF annual meetings 2018, well, I distributed these also over the internet. And I also tweeted to Stephen Mnuchin, and I said, unless rescinded in writing, these minutes replace any of the illegitimate documents prepared by the network of global corporate control. There was no dissent to the email to the World Bank's member embassies in Tokyo and UN missions in New York. Many World Bank staff understand that Usman Diagana has been relieved of his position as Vice President for Human Resources. Not a single mission or embassy has objected to the discharge of Christine Lagarde or Jim Kim or Usman Diagana or any of the other misguided officials in the Secretariat. These agents of the network of global corporate control have defied the decision of the Board of Governors of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund to place the network of global corporate control in receivership in the Global Debt Facility in a global currency reset. The banking cartel never thought that they would be exposed or that we would stand up to them. Do all the staff at headquarters need to be discharged until they follow the directives of the Board of Executive Directors and Board of Governors? We're going to find out. The banking cartel tried, again using a sock puppet in the comment section of the DCTV archives, to criticize the World Bank and IMF in order to confuse people. In my response, I said that the world's wealth is administered by the Board of Governors of the World Bank and IMF, and that the Board of Governors is winding down the banking cartel. You know you've won when the shills ask good questions and everyone gets it. And this is the question that I was asked in the comment section. Karen, does the World Bank and the IMF not lend fiat currency, money it creates out of nothing, to bankrupt countries in order to profit from the interest? How does that make you the good guys? And the question was from Triona Ryan. Triona Ryan, you appear to be a shill. You ask a good question. The World Bank and IMF Secretariat have been captured by the banking cartel. The Board of Governors, for whom I am authorized to speak, is over the Secretariat. I have made this point many times. The banking cartel broke this link, and I just reset it. That was what I tweeted, and you can see that in the teleprompter. The links are there. The banking cartel also broke the link to the offer of the world's monetary gold to all of the world's people in the global currency reset, and the correct link is also in the teleprompter. The banking cartel tried censoring my response, but this only backfired. In next week's segment, we're going to discuss what is on the agenda in the global currency reset. This agenda was listed in the letters offering gold to replace the banking cartel's paper currencies. The Federal Reserve issued bonds in the 1930s known as Treaty of Versailles bonds, and these bonds are now worth over $2 quadrillion. The banking cartel is insolvent. That means they're bankrupt. These bonds are held by the Global Debt Facility. That's because Jose Rizal acquired these bonds when he was the Black Pope. The Black Pope is the superior general of the Jesuits. As lawyer for the Global Debt Facility, I placed a lien on the Fed with these bonds in the Global Debt Facility. The Development Committee is winding down the banking cartel in the Global Debt Facility. In case you want to know how I knew to place a lien on the Fed, some of what I do is just using common sense and from my training as a lawyer. Some of what I do is because I've also been trained as a fencer. When people criticize me for not acting faster, it's because of my training in martial arts. The best offense is a good defense. I have had to wait until people knew what and whom I represent, and also in order to be able to capitalize on the mistakes that the banking cartel has been making. The banking cartel is now thrashing around like the wounded beast that it is, and as a result, it's taking mortal hits. I'm placing at the end of the teleprompter some of the blows landing on the banking cartel. A lot of what I do is simply intuitive, and of course, I'm getting a lot of help. It's time now for me to acknowledge this help and offer my deepest thanks. The elections in the United States were not legitimate because the United States Constitution of 1789 was not in effect. I made this point to the military attachés of Japan and Germany to the United States on the 31st of October in 2016. The military are guarding our gold, and they're keeping peace. They're not engaging in World War III. The banking cartel attempted to start World War III with the detonation of a missing nuclear bomb 600 miles off the coast of Charleston on the 7th of October in 2013, and it failed a first strike against Russia on the 15th of March 2015. This exposed the banking cartel sufficiently to the world's military powers and the rest of the coalition that's now in charge. There's no need for any coup. The banking cartel admitted that it was unable to start World War III in the comments section of the last DCTV segment. First, Niece Maria recommended that we put these people to death before they managed to kill us. I told her that would be suicidal. And then I left her comment up. Her plan was suicidal. Why would you say this when all the world's military powers are keeping peace? I think you're either stupid or a shill. I looked at your YouTube page. Chances are you're an agent of the banking cartel. That's called a sock puppet. And so Niece Maria responded, well, sorry, I don't want us to make suicide. I just think that at first the banking cartel tried to kick off World War III, and when they couldn't have that, they're now building up these gang-stalking networks in every city, and they have the weaponry to kill their targets fast if they just amp up their power in weapons. They couldn't have war to kill 2/3 of the population, so they try to do it differently. And I responded to her, you think you have the last word? Well, you're not scaring me, because as I said, you're a sock puppet. Your opinion is only useful to show that the banking cartel is taking us very seriously, and they think you're having an impact. It's backfiring, niece Maria. The more you say, the more it backfires. And now we'll talk about another attempt to steal the wealth of the world. The banking cartel tried many times to steal the world's assets in the global debt facility, and each attempt has failed. The banking cartel has been defeated. 2 weeks ago, a lawyer for the Vatican tried to steal the world's assets in the global debt facility a fourth time. Like her previous 3 attempts, Von Reitz failed again. And what I tweeted, Anna von Reitz keeps on lying. Her first 3 attempts to steal the world's monetary gold reserves failed. Von Reitz works for the Vatican. Now, I have a feeling that we're now in the part of the program where I can speak extemporaneously. No, actually, there's one other thing. This is a man named Carl Lofer Investments, and he sent me an email saying that he has control of a lot of Iraqi dinars and also Zim. And he wanted for me to meet with him. And I told him, no, I don't go there. What he said to me in an email, I'm the attorney, in fact, of the owners that hold the biggest inventory in the world of Zim and Iraqi dinars, 632 billion Iraqi dinars and 632 billion quadrillion of Zim. And he talked about the Iraqi boxes. I'd like to talk to you as soon as possible. Looking forward to hearing from you. And he also left a voicemail message on my cell phone. And I had no reason to talk to him. We're not going to have anything to do with Iraqi dinars. The people in Iraq are going to be benefiting from the currency exchange, but the people that live outside Iraq, no, they're not going to have any. Their Iraqi dinars are not going to be counted. And we'll talk next week what we're going to be doing in the global currency reset, how we're going to be deciding. But first, let me make a couple of points. I've been fighting the banking cartel and being very outspoken about it, and you see I'm still sitting here. Well, that wouldn't be the case if there weren't a coalition that was stronger than the banking cartel backing me up. Now, I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about proof that the banking cartel exists, but you've got that definitely when you see all the times that they're trying to hide what I say. And they're not succeeding, are they? I'm getting through. I wouldn't be getting through if there were no banking, there were no coalition that's stronger than the banking cartel. So just reason about that. And I wanted actually to talk about some other things that are going on. One of the things is that people are starting to get nervous because there's going to be a lot of change. And don't get nervous because the change is much for the better. Any change is difficult. I just had to live through the renovation in my kitchen. And it's not that I wanted a fancy kitchen. It's that somebody cut the pipes in my kitchen and caused a flood. So I had to get that thing cleaned up. And it's not comfortable when you're involved with change, but when it's an improvement, you just grin and bear it. And of course, when you have no choice, which is actually the case, we don't want to go into World War III. And that's where we're going to head if we don't have a global currency reset. That's very clear. But as I've been telling you, the chances that we succeed are more than 90%. And that's because we're all working together, and the way humanity is constructed, we interact with each other. You see that in the animal world. I've shown you how swallows, there's something called murmuration, where the swallows don't crash into each other. They just manage somehow to work cohesively together. And that's the way humanity is. We're all working together in this global currency reset. It's quite exciting. And you just have to look around to see that that's the case. One of the examples was when there were provocateurs that were trying to get the people to have an uprising, and there was no way to account for the fact that they were actually calm. Well, the reason they were calm is because we're all working together on this, and it's going to be a big improvement. And we're not going to go any faster than we can do this peacefully. And that's why it's taking a long time. There's also a lot of criticism in the DCTV archives where the banking cartel sock puppets are saying, well, since it's taking so long, you're obviously not managing to have a currency exchange. And it's actually the opposite point can be made, which is the fact that we're still working on this and the fact that I'm still getting through and criticizing the banking cartel. That's showing you that, yes, there's a different group in town that are calling the shots. And that group is not the banking cartel. It's us, as I said. We're all working together. And I had a list of some of the things that I wanted to talk to you about. Let's see if I can find the list. Well, how I'm doing. That's pretty important because it's not clear who my successor is. And sometimes people are asking me to name a successor. Well, I can't do that. It's got to be something that all the people agree on. And the reason I came into this situation to begin with is that I proved myself. I proved that I was not going to succumb to pressure, which I don't. All you have to do is try to pressure me, and I go the other way. I'm pretty obstinate. And then if I see that you're trying to get me to do something because you're trying to get me to go the other way, I won't go there either. And you see there have been a lot of agents that they've sent to me. And I've just managed to expose them all. And the way that happens is because, yes, I'm pretty intuitive. But it's not just that. I'm getting a lot of help. And I'm thanking the people that are helping me. So you can't go wrong if you're working together with all the world's people and you're thanking them. And that's where we are. That's my job. That's what I do. I work together with everybody, and we're all working together to get rid of this corruption in our world. Okay, what else did I want to talk to you about? Oh, yes, my relationship with you. It's a very direct relationship because people who have questions send the emails to me, and so far I've been able to keep up and respond to all the emails. There are not quite as many emails now as there used to be. I think it's because people are starting to get intimidated and they don't want to be dealing directly with the banking cartel. Well, there's a way to protect yourself when you want to get in touch with me, and that's to have 2 or 3 people that you work with and talk to all the time. And the way that works is that those people are going to tell you when you seem to be acting out of character, if they know you very well. And also, you'll learn to recognize that yourself. You won't do things suddenly, because chances are, if you do them suddenly with a lot of strong emotion, that's not your real, that's not what you actually want to do. That's some of this electromagnetic weaponry I was telling you about. And when you live with it for a long time, you learn to recognize what it is that's your own thoughts and what it is that's just from that weaponry. One of the other things that I do to keep myself independent and working out of my own volition is music. Music is a very powerful thing. It helps the wiring in your brain. It's one of the strongest things you can do to stay yourself. It's amazing how wonderful music is. And yes, I play a lot of music. I play the cello, more or less. Okay. What happened this past week was the banking cartel tried again to throw me in jail. The way they did that was I was driving down the road and they pulled me over. And the police officer gave me a ticket because my tags are not current. And it's a hefty fee. And if I don't pay that fee, they'll throw me in jail. Now you can say, well, they're not trying to throw you in jail. Well, this is the second time they did this. So when they keep repeating things, that's a sign usually that that's what they're trying to do. Well, I'm not going to jail, folks. I'm going to be sitting where I'm sitting, and we're all going to be working together. And the longer we work, the more mistakes the banking cartel is going to make. And they're running out of steam, aren't they? If you read what the comments are in the archives when I put these videos up, you can tell right away which are the real people and which are the sock puppets. And when you read what the sock puppets had to say, it backfires, because that shows that the banking cartel wants to try to influence you, and that there is a banking cartel. We've known that there was a banking cartel since 2012, when three mathematicians proved that the capital markets were all rigged. And then some people said, well, there may be this group, but they're not really doing anything. Well, it turns out they're doing a lot. And as we saw, they tried to start a nuclear war with Russia, and they tried to nuke Charleston. So yes, they're there. They're very much there. And if you look around and try to see the signs that this banking cartel is there, you can see them. For the first, if you look at what's going on in the U.S. Congress, the U.S. Congress is all rigged. The corruption is extremely deep, and we're going to have a very long time to try to clean up this corruption. But since we've seen that the banking cartel exists and it's there, and we want to clean things up, we're going to clean them up. One of the questions that we have to decide when we are working to clean up the corruption is just how slowly we go and how thoroughly we clean, because people are used to a lot of conveniences like credit cards, and we're going to have to at some point, there's going to be a trade-off. If we want to clean thoroughly, we're going to have to slow down and not use many of the conveniences that we have. Or maybe we'll decide to do it in installments. And I'm not sure exactly how we're going to decide to do this. It's going to be a group project. And if you say, well, you wanted me to have a formulated plan, that's not realistic, because I'm not allowed to go back inside the World Bank yet. And so I don't have staff, and therefore it's going to take some time before I can deal with a lot of things. And of course, I can't, when I do go back in, and some of the costs for negotiating the monetary agreements, so we'll be talking about this in the next segment, are paid for. I'm not going to be able to just delegate, because that's going to land us back with the banking cartel. We don't want that. We certainly don't want that. Don't want that at all. Okay. One of the other questions is why it's taking so long. It's taking all of us so long. The truth will set you free. I back up everything in this series with proof. It takes some getting used to when you realize how you've been lied to all your life. We're all in this together. Just as many people have been helping me learn, it's my privilege to share this information. Please find 2 or 3 people to talk to about these matters. This will help set you free from the electromagnetic weaponry we discussed last week.